good to go. Good morning, everyone. For me and for Leah, it's good afternoon. Hello, hello. We've got a lovely buddy reading discussion for you of this fabulous book, which is historical fiction, which is awesome because we've got two historical fiction authors here to talk about it. So, Leah, why don't you tell the channel who you are, what you write, and where you're coming to us from today?
Sure. So I'm coming from Eastern Ontario, Canada, just between the border of Ontario and Quebec. And I'm Leah. I run a YouTube channel called Pen to Paper, and I'm on it twice a week. Wednesdays are for AuthorTube and Fridays are for BookTube. I actually did put out a video for what I read in May, but I did not go into this very fully. I just kind of gave a quick snapshot of what I had just read at the beginning, saving the discussion for today. And I write historical fiction, but specifically Canadian historical fiction.
And you got a fellow Canadian historical fiction plus horror plus poetry plus
That's a lot.
Supernatural. A lot of good stuff in there with Anita. Hello.
Yes.
So, I have a list of questions, but if you've got questions in the audience while we proceed through, pop them in the chat. We're planning to have it spoiler-free, so if you are excited to read The Phoenix Crown by Kate Quinn and Janie Chang, fear not, we won't spoil it. We'll put up a banner towards the end when we say anything that we wanted to discuss about spoilery stuff. First question. What made you pick up this book? Like, what compelled you to say, yes, let's do this one for a buddy read? I'm always curious.
So actually, I looked at it even before you mentioned doing it for May or like potentially doing it for May. I was at a chapters in Ottawa, and before I went to the local author section, because I knew my friend's book was there, so I wanted to get a little snapshot of it, in the wild. I just, you walk to the front table and they have books there right away, right? Like the new hot releases are the ones that they think you would appreciate.
It's got foil, it's got shiny. Yeah. It's a good book for a front table.
On this cover, it's gorgeous. And I think the headdress piece kind of grabbed my attention right away. Of course, the gold and this blue. And also, I think it was a staff pick for the month.
That always helps. We love our indie bookstore staff. Yeah.
So I picked it up and then I looked at the description in the back and I was like, oh, this sounds really good, like up my alley. And plus, I have not been reading that much historical fiction this year so far. I've been reading a lot of ARCs, which I really enjoy. And it's also like a way to help promote indies, but I just hadn't read any historical fiction. I was thinking I need to change this up. I need to switch it.
Me too. Welcome. Are you or were you on a historical fiction quarantine while you were finishing up your book, your latest book? No? Okay.
No. Yeah, that's a good question, though. I just read whatever comes to me, whatever mood I'm in. I think the closest read that I've read this year that was historical fiction was The Cruel Dark by Leah Lindeman. And it's like a gothic historical romance. Like the historical aspect is it's in the 20s or 30s, 20s. Yeah. So that's, that time period. Yeah. What about you? When you write, do you feel like you can't read historical fiction, or does it have to be a very different historical time period from yours?
So I just touched on this. What did I end up saying? I had to think about it a lot. It was something about so when I read, when I'm in the research phase and I'm gathering facts, I will definitely read well-regarded historical fiction sources and use those as like background. And then if I see something that is intriguing as a detail, I'll make sure to see if it's correct because you have to trust but verify. And let's see. I guess when I'm drafting, I will try not to read something that's in the same exact period because then I don't want it to affect my tone because that's directly what's like coming through. But
yeah, that's so true.
Historical fiction girlies. I love it. Okay. So then first impressions, because one of the things I asked about this buddy read was read the first chapter and register your impressions. So when I read the first chapter, I was like, whoa, this is like grabbing me. It's very exciting. It's right off the bat. And then there's a big shift after the first chapter. So tell me your first chapter impressions, and then we'll go to like overall.
Same thing. It grabbed me right away, which I was really hoping it would, because I don't know why, because it's historical fiction. Sometimes, we kind of fall into the trap too of like, oh, it's historical fiction, so it may be slow.
Yeah, you're like history, slow moving. Yeah.
Exactly. And I guess
Yeah.
maybe I just haven't read it for a while. I don't know. And no, it just grabbed me right away. It was very entertaining. And
Yeah.
I think it's in the first part, right? Where you have 1911 and then 1906. I think that's where it's the time jump.
Yes.
Yeah. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to enjoy this. Like, it's not too much. I think one of the last historical fiction books I read was like a 20 or 30-year decade time difference. But I liked that this
the jump.
was only
Okay.
5 years, so it wasn't too.
But it doesn't go back until the very.
No.
So I thought that was kind of strange to have the beginning be
Yeah.
a looking back that hints at the ending. So I'm
Yes.
thinking that's maybe a good device to be like, it's not a slow moving thing.
Yeah.
You're going to get to this place, and we hinted it, and then we go back into the buildup. But also the chapter headings give you like the
I like that. Yeah. Because
countdown. Yeah.
it's going to happen. It's obviously in the back, the description.
Okay.
It's the San Francisco earthquake.
We haven't talked about what the main thrust of the book is yet. So,
No.
Hi, Devin. Hi, Shannon. Welcome to the Buddy Read discussion. To give you just a general overview, the Phoenix crown refers to a specific beautiful headdress. There's someone in this book who's very rich and collects beautiful Asian antiquities. There are 2 point of view characters. One is someone, a native of Chinatown, San Francisco in 1906, and someone is a new arrival at San Francisco, and she's an opera singer. And so they're both trying their fortunes. There are 2 other main characters, protagonists, who are a naturalist based on a real life woman and a artist, sort of like a mashup of real characters, I think. And so their lives intertwine, and we hear about their experiences vis-a-vis the 1906 earthquake, for which you may have noticed I did a little bit of Edwardian hairstyling, and I'm wearing like an Edwardian sort of shirt waist, you might call it here. So it's
so
debuting.
Cool.
Yeah. So I just got a little dressy.
And here I am, like bohemian. wait.
You're going with Reggie. Yeah.
The later part of the book.
Yes. So that's like the main idea of the book. It was very exciting. And overall impressions. So we talked about the beginning, like overall book, did it change? Did you feel like it didn't live up to its promise? What did you feel at the end of the book?
No, it did. I think I'm giving it 4.5 stars. Overall, it was a great ride. I loved the characterization of the characters. I really felt like it was a group of friends I wanted to belong to. And I liked the description you put on the Twitter where it's the motley crew.
Yes.
And that's what disaster does sometimes. It doesn't matter where you come from. It's who you're thrown with into this crazy ride, and you build those friendships along the way. But they weren't just friendships that lasted for those, I don't know how many days were they there, 10,
something 2 weeks.
Like that. Something like that. Yeah, like it lasted 5 years later, and well, I won't say any more about that, but
right.
Yes,
spoilers coming later.
So the friendships were great. The pacing, I never felt dragged ever. Actually, I really, really enjoyed that. It's hard to master that pacing.
Yeah.
There was 2 really, well, the first one was like, oh, and then the second was a little less surprising, but it's still surprising, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So those little twists, fun. Nice. It was definitely like an overall great read.
Yeah, and I think I'm giving it 4.25, so we're pretty close on that. Had you read
really specific?
Yeah, well, they let you be, so I'm gonna ground down. Have you read either of the authors before?
No, but I've had The Rose Code by Kate Quinn on my to-read list.
Yeah.
I don't know when I'm going to pick it up, but yeah.
Excellent.
What about you?
When I gave the sort of brief overview in my wrap-up, I said a little bit about the authors because I've read The Huntress by Kate Quinn and loved it, like devoured it. And then I read The Library of Legends with my Patreon book club by Janie Chang. And that was much slower paced, much more like gentle toned,
Okay.
whereas The Huntress was like, we're out to kill or be killed, you know, like the tone was very different. And so I was reading this and thinking, oh, I can really see that they found like the medium between the two.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think it might appeal to both. I lean more towards the Kate Quinn school of like, you
Okay.
know, zap 'em, blast 'em, but I liked that they had a lot of interiority, they had a lot of
Yeah.
context and like secondary characters that helped show the changing of minds and stuff like that. So that was
Mhm.
nice. That was nice.
Yeah. I find the time period was pretty well fleshed out too. And you'll
Mm.
see the difference, San Francisco and then Paris. And I felt there was enough of a divide there of worlds and cultures that was really
Mm.
fleshed out well.
Nice. Yeah, it's mostly San Francisco, but there is like a
The end.
maybe a fifth at the end or
Yeah.
the book. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Have you ever thought of co-writing a book like these two did? They make
Oh
it look so
man.
easy.
They did. They did such a great job. They were like the perfect dream team. I would totally be open to it. I
Mm.
guess because I'm so dedicated to my current series, which for those of you who don't
Yeah, all the
know,
different yeah.
yeah, it's the Canadian Reminiscence series. So basically, each standalone novel is based in a different province or territory of Canada during a different historical time period, and each novel has its sequel novella. So it's kind of like a mini duology for every province. I've done 3, but there's
You get a
another
main dish
10.
and an appetizer
Yeah, there you go.
or a
And
dessert. Yeah.
yeah, dessert, yeah, and there's 10 more. So that's a lot of years ahead of me, like definitely more than 10. I don't think I can put out a book a year. I could probably do like a novel and then a sequel a year later, but I don't know about a whole novel.
Mm.
Anyways, that's but I would definitely be open to doing it. Like even maybe as a little break from that side project, I could see myself doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
I have such a chaotic process. Um, I don't think I would wanna inflict that on anyone else because I feel like I'm such a
Really?
mood writer. Yeah, like being able to focus on something and then
Okay.
going off. I was telling you a little bit about research procrastination before we
Yeah.
started, and I feel like on one hand, that might be a successful lever for motivating me is that I have to turn this over to someone else who I respect and admire and want to work alongside. But on
Mhm.
the other hand, it might like get more up into the anxiety of performing and like make me feel worse about not, getting something done. So I don't know how it would work and I wouldn't want to inflict that on someone.
Or you could that
Third
person
hand.
could just let you research procrastinate because then you'll find all the gold nuggets. And then that
Like share
person
out.
can, churn out the outline pages, just and then get your input when they need it. And then whenever you're done your research procrastination, you can, put in what you
That
want to
is a
put in.
thought. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. I don't know
Yeah.
anyone else who works like that, but we'll see. I'll keep that in my back pocket.
Yes.
Um, and in case, since I forgot to introduce myself on my own channel here, in
Yeah, yeah,
case
do so.
people are wondering about what I'm writing at the moment, it is not Edwardian. It is actually 1830s. So, 1832 is the first novel, and it takes place in Glasgow. It's about the daughter of an Irish rebellion immigrant and how she has come up very swiftly in life, but then has to deal with new challenges
Mm.
in this time period when she is widowed. So, new responsibilities, new challenges, but also new opportunities to affect change. And so that's what I'm exploring in this very volatile climate of social change in the UK. So that's been the exciting research part.
That's
Um, but no timetable for when it's going to be coming out. We'll see. We'll see.
And sometimes it just needs its time.
Marinate.
Whenever.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I finally feel like I'm like going on it with progress. So that's great.
Yeah.
We do have a couple people who are co-chairs of the AWC, and since I have a fellow AWC presenter on the line, Shannon will appreciate this. Thank you for the compliment on the hairstyle. I wanted to drop some knowledge if people are watching as writers. We
Mm.
have one more week to submit for the first page critique panel. So this is if you are starting out as a writer or trying something completely different and want someone else's feedback, you can do this for free during the AuthorTube Writing Conference. And the link to submit is right here. So, boom.
Yay.
If you're wondering about this, you have 5 more days to get on it. And it's pretty clearly laid out. So check it out at that link down below. Okay. Did you have any questions you wanted to ask? Or
no, this is great. If I do, I will ask.
Okay. All right. So this is my 3rd 1906 earthquake book. I seem to have like an interest in this, and I'm not sure what it is other than being a Californian. Have you read any other material on the 1906 San Francisco earthquake?
Never.
Okay.
Like just, learned it in history class. It's funny. It actually never really called to me as an event. I don't know why. Maybe because it's so popular and well known. And I tend to gravitate toward those events that nobody really knows about.
Yes, you and me both. Yeah.
But as I said, when I picked it up and I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, 1906. But then the story is what kind of grabbed me, and the promise of the story. And I like that it wasn't all about the earthquake. Like it was there, but it was
like a page.
It was not really to the main story, which that was great. Yeah.
Yeah, just a blip.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is that in all the stories I've read, which are modern historical fiction, like in the last 5 years, the writer has chosen to pick out the same interesting highlights of like having the famous opera singer come to town the night before.
Okay.
And having that like be just like a weird thing that happens and his reaction afterwards. Yeah.
The actor too. There's the actor.
The actor is not referenced as much, but yeah, he is, whoever that is in the book has like a walk-on cameo.
Yeah.
They do usually incorporate different classes of the city at the time. So you definitely have like the huge inequality in that era, right after the Gilded Age, before the progressive laws have really kicked in, I guess.
Yeah.
And so you have people on the hill whose houses survive, and you have people in Chinatown, which is like dynamited to be a fire break, but it's unsuccessful. So it's like they just destroyed the whole area for no reason. So there's a lot of like cultural things and classist things, and those pieces of history were interesting to see how they twined them differently together. Which is great.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting too how devastation not only, as I mentioned, brings like friends together, but it also shows the disparity like in culture and just in ways that maybe you wouldn't have thought of before. So it did a good job with that too.
Yeah. Okay, so 1906 earthquake topic. What about reading it as an author versus reading it as a reader? Did you have like your author light come on or your author helmet descend when you were reading it and go, ooh, like that or this?
Yeah. I actually did see it with one piece of the story. I don't know if it's a spoiler.
We can save
I won't
it.
mention it just in case.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
there was a scene thrown in. Okay, yes. No, it's not really that much of a spoiler. She has her bird, Toscanini. Yeah. And she leaves the house, the big rich house, to go see like if where she used to live was safe and habitable, right? And she just leaves him there. And I was like, it just felt very contrived to me. And I realized it needed to be done in order for the next scene to come. And I was like, just take the bird.
Yeah.
Like you're leaving your stuff there, but what if you can't come back to your house? Like it just didn't logically make sense to me. That was the only thing that I was like, yeah, I kind of saw that.
Yeah, there were a couple of things that didn't seem logical that I was like, kind of like reading a mystery. I wouldn't say this is a mystery. It's more of like
it's
historical fiction.
Suspense maybe toward the end.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit, just a little.
But like one of the mystery tropes is like if you do something that doesn't make sense, it must be the gun is on the table because it's going to be used by the end of the novel, you know.
That's right.
But for most of those things that I saw, like a couple, I was just like, okay, I'm going with it. It was
like
fine.
whatever. I see it needs to be done in order for this thing to happen. But maybe it's like then you kind of file that away as an author. You're like, I will not do that. I will find something. Just make it more natural that you don't contrive things.
that's actually the point at which I am sort of going along plotting is that right now, because I'm trying to make chapter to chapter like more connected. Instead of this
Mhm.
event, that event, that event, I'm trying to be like, and what does this lead into? What is the most
Yeah,
interesting thing to happen next? Like what's a natural feeling? And
yeah.
that's hard.
It is, it is because it seems really good in your head, and then it just doesn't sometimes kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
translate to other readers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I find I have a pretty good ability, I think, when I'm reading to just enjoy it with a reader's view,
Mm,
just soak it in. But
yeah.
then, yeah, when it's very, very obvious, then the author and me kind of sees it, files it away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. There was one point I thought I'd bring up that I
yeah,
saw. Um, it wasn't an author thing, but it was like commenting on how the authors wove it together.
okay.
It is it was using an expression about Chinatown.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
wait.
now I can't remember which one.
I think I know what you're talking about. Oh boy, I don't know if I'll be able to find it. Hmm,
I guess it was earlier.
I thought
Sorry.
I thought it was mentioned
Oh,
after the
found
other.
it.
Okay, what is it?
No, it's just like a cast off line. It's very short. It's on page 48.
Okay.
And it's when the main character, Suling, is reflecting on her background and sort of bringing in some of the family drama
Hmm.
in her view. And it says, in Chinatown, young women of childbearing age were rarer than white peacocks. And I was like,
Oh,
okay, that's something I wouldn't have known to use as an analogy
yeah,
with Janie Chang. Like I could see that was probably her contribution, like
yeah,
a cultural thing that just makes it feel very natural and in its own environment. And I was like, oh, that was good.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Huh.
White peacocks. And then I just saw a TikTok with white peahens that were like making noises. What? Cute.
Google is all knowing.
Yeah. Well, I hadn't even thought of that aspect, but
Um,
okay. Um, okay, so are we ready for a little spoiler section?
yes, yeah, for sure.
All right. So where's my banner? Spoiler section. Okay.
All right.
So twists.
Twist.
There are a few twists. Um, so I'm gonna go with 3. There was who turned out to be a bad guy.
Okay.
Did we see it or did we I was on the fence. I was like, he could go either way. They're painting him really,
Yeah,
the rich guy.
they did paint him very charming, but, like, not oozing charming because it just
Mhm.
they usually when you think charming, you think, "Oh, they're supremely handsome," right? And they're just I don't know, it just, like, flows out of them. He didn't
They've
have
got
quite that.
the Riz. He doesn't have the Riz.
Yeah, he doesn't have Riz. So, but when she started kind of going into her and her friend Nellie, they talked about, how this happens, and she looks down on people who accept patronage
Mm.
from rich gentlemen. When she was kind of going into that, I was like, oh, I don't know. This kind of seems like something's gonna happen with him. Like it's
Okay.
not all that he may be. And I didn't know how bad, but I just knew something wasn't going to work out.
Yeah.
That was good to tell for me.
I liked when they brought in Su Ling's point of view of him because that was helpful
Mhm.
in terms of like
Yeah.
giving a little bit of difference, and she was more canny and not as affected because he wasn't like influencing her career in the same way that he was influencing the opera singer's career.
Exactly.
So it was like, okay, so we're getting a little bit of a different view.
Yeah.
But like he's here's the thing, when I looked at the point where I was kind of going when I was vacillating, I was like, he's being a courteous lover. He's giving her all these like good chances.
Yeah.
And he's sorry about what he does at the end. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I think he really wanted to be a good guy, but it
Yeah.
wasn't up to his plan.
Well, I think
Um,
that's what I like about him is he's not just a full-on villain. Like they do play with that idea of he doesn't fully want to be a bad guy, but of course his pride and his desire for riches and his selfishness is going to pull through and win the race
right.
over whatever small guilt he feels inside.
Right.
So, but I do like that they did attest to that small guilt, and he knows it's wrong. But yeah.
And I really liked not liked. I was like flagging this in my own mind about my own preferences
Okay.
because when in that same scene, like when they first become lovers and he offers her opium, and I'm like, oh, are
Yeah.
we good though? No. Like in the context of the whole novel, I think it's definitely painted as a bad thing. And that
Yes.
was like a black mark on his character for me, even though he's like, it's not addictive if you do it in moderation and she's
Yeah.
fine. She doesn't get addicted. But I was just like, mm.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you see that's a big tell too. Oh,
Yeah.
you won't do it if you do it in moderation. It's like, well,
Yeah.
really? Do you have the
Yeah.
self-control for that? Probably not. Or at
Yeah.
least most people don't, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, no,
Okay,
it's
so
true.
that was the bad guy twist. And then we
Yes.
also have the Reggie twist.
Yes, I couldn't that there was a line, and I was mentioning to you,
Yeah.
I don't know even know what the line said, and it didn't even say anything to do with Nelly. Like, I don't know. There was just something, and I was like, oh, there's something with Nelly, but like it didn't even connect in my head consciously, Nelly and Reggie. But then when it came up, I was like, oh, that's what I was feeling. Like, I don't know, deep in my subconscious, there was something.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
What tipped me off was that every mention of Reggie in Su
Yeah.
Ling's viewpoint was not giving pronouns. And
Yes.
I was like, okay, that's a clear indicator that we're being kept in the dark about this thing. I wonder to what purpose.
That's
And
true.
then, yeah. And so then when I was like, Nellie disappeared, I was like, that's got to be the same person with a different name. Because also she prepared the ground with like, she changes her name all the time and this kind of thing. So I was
Yes,
like,
it's so
okay.
true.
So it's either a non-binary person or someone who like changes identities all the time. So
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
pretty prepared for that one.
Okay.
Um, not where she ended up though.
No,
Like,
I
what?
did not expect that. It's so true. Yeah.
And then what was the third one that he was gonna pop back up? Or maybe I don't know what I had in my head. What other twist did you see?
What was the other twist? I guess no, I knew that he was gonna be alive, like, after the whole thing.
Oh, right, that he had survived the
Yeah,
earthquake and
that
fire.
one wasn't really a twist because okay, after the earthquake happens, like, what's gonna happen in the rest of the book? There's still, that small piece left, and I was like, "No, it has to do with that." And the
Mm,
Phoenix Crown, right? It's all about the
mhm,
Phoenix Crown, which,
mhm.
again, comes out at the end. So that wasn't really a twist. Oh, the twist was for me that the last major twist was when Alice is not there at the end when they're facing their oppressor, and then she
Yes,
just comes right at the end with the father of the daughter who's engaged to
the
him.
credible witness. Here you go.
Yes, I thought that was brilliant. It was very well
Yeah,
done. Yeah.
that was good. That was a good, like, hurrah scene at the end.
Yes.
That was good.
Yeah, because I really was like, "Where is Alice?" They're saying, "Where's Alice?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I really don't know where she is."
Yeah,
So that was good.
yeah.
Did you have a
Uh,
different fear twist?
no, I think that's a good one. Um, I didn't like seeing the thing get burned at the end, like
I know.
the
Yeah,
beautiful things, like a lot of the beautiful things that were collected as Asian antiquities in the famous not famous, and the Octagon House at the beginning were, destroyed in the fire. But,
yeah.
to see that one destroyed and like the, "Ah!"
Yeah, I think
you're
if
like
I had been there, I would have cried. Like,
yeah,
just but
yeah.
also too, they almost not you had a little bit of an emotional attachment to that piece and even the
Mm,
robe to the dragon robe,
yep.
just because of the history, and then them not wanting to wear the robe or Gemma not wanting to wear the robe in the middle, and because of that significance. So I think that's what kept me emotionally tied to it. It
Mm.
kind of it felt like when Notre Dame went on fire a few years ago. I was like, oh
Oh.
no. I just
Yeah, yeah, your own associations.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's sad. But it just shows that despite the importance of historical pieces and really to have survived that long is a little miracle in itself. And I guess just not taking for granted that miracle. I think as historical it's always exciting and fresh as a person who loves history to see those pieces, but then you can kind of take it for granted because there is a lot of history around us and a lot of artifacts, but then you really can't because nothing is eternal, right? It all goes to ruin at some point.
Chaos.
Yeah, chaos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking a little bit about the niche or, like, specialty things that are treated in this book. So did
Mhm.
you read the author's notes
I
at the end?
did. I
Isn't that
love
good?
that. Actually,
Okay.
I was thinking
Can
for
I take
my
the banner
next
down?
I might do that.
Sorry,
Sorry.
what?
What did you say?
Can I take the banner down? Are we out of the spoiler
Yes, yeah, I
section?
think
Okay.
so.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, like just go more into depth of what they add in, right? Because it was all about where they got each
So
character
Kate Quinn
from.
trained as an opera singer and finally got to use it in a book. That was
That's
so cool.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I
I
wondered if either
really
of them had embroidery specialties because they didn't talk about that,
mm, maybe
you know,
someone they knew.
like
Yeah.
fashion.
But
Mhm.
they almost did like character oh, what do you call it now? I'm losing my words.
Mapping?
Yeah, character mapping at the end.
Huh.
It was really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also kind of fleshing out, like, if the character was fictional or if it was based on so Alice, I didn't know she was a real person, right, until I read that, so I was like, "Oh, that's neat to know."
Yeah.
Yeah, that they had all those resources and all her journals at hand to go into that research.
Mm. Yeah. I think I was a little um left wanting a little bit more reality or like three-dimensionalness of Alice and Reggie because they both felt like archetypes or sort of like stereotypes, I guess.
Mhm.
In like the naturalist who's like got an obsession about the plants and wants to save them above everything, um, but has a kind heart. And then like the artist who's temperamental and like has trauma and is dealing with that and failing. And
Yeah,
so I felt like they could have been, I mean, they weren't the focus. So you did have to sacrifice the secondary characters for the point of view characters. And I see that because they
yeah.
stand out really well. Um, but yeah, I like them. I want a
Yeah,
novel
you're
about them.
I think Alice was my favorite, actually, if I had to pick a favorite.
Yeah.
I like her spunk. I like that
Mm,
she's super dedicated to her work, but she's
yeah.
also yeah, she's got a heart of gold.
I like
Uh,
the pep talks that she gave, and she was like, "Hey,
yeah,
girl, are you gonna be nice to the rest of us? You seem really selfish." And you're like, "Oh," called out. Or, like, "You can do this when you're going to rescue the thing on the stairwell," like, and she's like, "I can't do this." Like, the pep talks. She's good for the pep talks.
yeah, no, it's so true.
Yeah.
I've got kids at my window
Oh, okay.
saying that, the cat's stitches have opened slightly, so we got our cat spayed.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh. Oh, resting time.
yeah,
Hope she'll be okay.
resting time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I did have a question for you, actually. Did
Yeah.
you find with I have one that I found, so I'll share that, but I was wondering, did you find any kind of inspirational message within this book that really popped up at you while you were reading this? I found one that was kind of, like, squirreled away in a little section. I was like, "Oh, that's actually
Hmm.
given me more food for thought than I was
Uh-huh.
expecting from this book."
Okay. What's yours? Because 'Cause I'm gonna look in my little turn down corners to see if I have a
Yeah, the one that I was thinking of was when Gemma realizes that everything she has is maybe not what it should be, and that she kind of finds herself at a point alone. But she says, she goes back to her sayings of, well, women can't depend on anybody but herself, and no one's going to look out for me, right?
Uh-huh.
But because she believed that as a worldview, she acted out that. So she couldn't be that for her friends, for Alice and Nellie, Reggie, and Suling, because she actually believed that as a worldview. And that's what was pouring out of her actions at a certain point, up
Mm.
until she realized, oh, I'm actually acting this way. And I don't even want this kind of life. Like, that's not what she wants from life. She wants something different. But she's been doing that because she's been believing it for so long. I don't know, just kind of like, huh, that's good food for
Yeah.
thought. Like, really, yeah, we need to kind of be careful what we believe because our actions flow out of that. And then we actually act towards others the way that we believe. So it was
Yeah.
interesting. And I haven't really found that recently in a book that
Huh.
message that just snagged my attention.
I feel like she had tried to put on armor that was not a good fit. because she had such a bad experience leaving New York City, and then tried to like be selfish and see if that works, because obviously I'm not doing it the right way. And I can definitely sympathize with that. And then having it be like, no, this is just not me, and then hopping back into her real values. I like that too.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if it's an inspirational message, but I really liked, so on page 255, they're in a terrible situation, and the four women are together. This is during the earthquake, and the paragraph is, "They went mad. There wasn't really any other word for it," Gemma thought. Take four women as different as four women could be: an opera singer in her 30s, an emaciated artist from the Bronx, a capable middle-aged scientist, a Chinese seamstress not even 20, and threatened to burn them alive. And they shed everything that made them individual, everything that made them uniquely themselves, and reverted to animals. And like you're watching like all the things play out and what people are doing. And in that paragraph, they do use the word keening, which I always like zero in on when I see in other novels. It's not a popular word, so like I notice it. I'm like, yes, keening. People know what that means.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that is good.
Everyone had different ways to reacting to like the crisis, and like I just felt that was a really powerful thing that knit them together, and that someone was observing it and commenting on it, I thought was really cool. So
yeah, it's true. And actually, I find sometimes we, as people, if someone doesn't react the same way as you do, then you can become judgmental very quickly, right? Because you want to feel that bond with someone, but yeah, in reality, not everyone reacts the same way. Everyone has different personalities and they come from different histories, right?
Right.
And so, and yet, even though because they're different, that can still knit you together in a very special way, which is what they had. So
yeah, acknowledging humanity is beautiful.
Yes.
So Shanna says she always likes reading the author's notes. Jocelyn Carter came in. Hello.
Hi.
Devin said, sounds like a really good read. Might add it to my TBR.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you happen to notice, Leah, that there's this historical fiction readathon this month in June?
No.
So Kelly Swearingen started this thing, and it just went up in the last week, and like thousands of views on videos about historical fiction. And I was like,
that's amazing.
So I sort of missed like the beginning, but yeah, this is a great book for people to read. Leah's book, my book, also great historical fiction read. So pop down in the description.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I've actually heard that historical fiction is making a comeback, because I felt, or at least where I am.
There's no comeback if you never left.
No, but I found, like, let's say, I don't know, like 5 years ago, the big thing was fantasy. Like everyone was just wanting to gobble that up. And then I've been doing a few book signings here in my area and just a little bit more abroad. And they're all saying, yeah, like we have so many people coming in who want historical fiction. I was like, this is great for me. It's like, yeah.
I don't, someone recently, maybe even on my channel, was talking about the reason, or like the connection for that, is that there's a lot of more historical fiction or historical fantasy being made into adaptations. So people are seeing it on Netflix and Hulu and HBO, and like that is maybe firing a little bit more interest in the market. And I was like,
maybe
keep going. Jim saying, I have a historical murder mystery, Murder at Traitor's Gate, set in 1858 London, which is on his list to read in June. Yes.
That sounds good.
Devin says, can we say the Bridgerton kicked off the historical fiction again? Maybe.
I would say historical romance.
Yeah.
Which is also a genre, it kind of in itself, right? Subgenre.
Right.
So,
right.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. I feel like historical romance is like a bigger market than historical fiction, even though categorically it's like a subgenre.
It's like really the same thing.
Yeah.
Just a stronger emphasis on the romance, but
yeah. Well, I feel like and Anita, who's doing an AWC talk on genre, may be able to weigh in on this, but I feel like it's a very different experience reading a historical romance than a historical fiction, because historical romance will iron out some of the complexity in order to create an arc and a happy ending, whereas historical fiction is like digging into all that complexity and really like throwing terrible things at you sometimes to get you to like feel very deeply, and
Yeah.
maybe there's not a happy ending. So if you're in a different mood, I think you might definitely go this way or go that way, as the
That's
TikToks
so
do.
true.
Oh. So Devin was saying about Bridgerton, and Joss was saying, I think so too.
Yeah.
We have Innovation That Excites coming in to say hi. Hi. Shannon had heard that about Bridgerton too. Did I miss too much? Well, you missed the spoiler section. So we're back to like fielding questions about co-written books, historical fiction, new releases. I didn't answer the first question I asked, actually, which is what compelled me to pick this up. And this was a birthday gift back in April. So that's why someone who knew me very well was like, I got your number.
Now, did you have it on a wish list already, or they just knew you and they bought it for you?
I think so. She went to a local indie bookstore and looked at their historical fiction and was like, which one would be good for Margaret? So
yes.
Yes. Okay, so Anita, on the genre, there is historical romance tends to have a lighter tone than a lot of historical fiction.
Yeah.
Then we can talk about dark romance that's historical, which may not have a lighter tone, but also still irons out the complexity, I would argue, because they're going for like the trope of, wounded hero or what have you. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jim has never seen Bridgerton. Does this surprise me?
Oh.
No. Shannon says, according to Alex Newton on PHEONIX, Google search interest for historical fiction books has increased by 34% in the last 3 years and has reached 33,000 searches per month. Did you just like whip that out of your report? She's fast. She's fast. That's awesome. That's really great.
Yeah.
What? Any other thoughts about Phoenix Crown? Structure was something we sort of touched on in passing a little bit. We talked about characters. We talked about pacing. I like the writing. Like, any other comments?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if there's anything else. I don't think so.
Oh. Shannon said Alex was talking about this last month, so she didn't just like look it up for us. Okay, so that's a good memory.
It really is, yeah.
Oh, I can dip into my Musketeer retelling. That's so cool.
Yes.
For the Readathon? Is that what you're talking about, Devin? Nice.
I actually have not read The Three Musketeers yet, but I know I should. And I love classics. I just haven't gotten into it yet. But what about you? Have you read it?
No. I grew up on the Disney movie.
Okay, yes, that's what I've seen too. I've seen like multiple renditions of the Three Musketeers, and then of course,
what?
Okay. I haven't read it. I just
haven't read it. Yeah, I think this is a case where the movie might be better than the.
Yeah, I didn't even know about it until the series came out. So yeah.
What was I going to say about?
Yeah, the Musketeers, and then of course the Disney, Donald, Mickey, Goofy for the kids. My kids love that version of the Three.
Is there a cartoon Three Musketeers? I didn't know that. Okay,
so cute with Mickey Mouse as one of the Three Musketeers. It's cute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
obviously, probably
I like the Chris O'Donnell version from high school nostalgia, so I'll stick with that. And I've sung that song at karaoke, actually. So just little plug for AuthorTubers and anyone who wants to sing at karaoke on YouTube. I will be hosting this Saturday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. So I'll get that up pretty soon. But the All for Love song from that movie, so good. So good. No, I was going to say Musketeers, Dumas. Okay, so I was just talking 19th century French literature classics with Dee at Brown Girl Reading.
Okay.
And I had started, or I had thought about starting Money by Émile Zola. So I was talking about Zola and a Stendhal book that I had just gotten. And I was kind of like, I don't really differentiate between all these like big name 19th century French lit. I haven't studied them. All I studied was the Grand Siècle, the 17th century. And so like, I don't know much about 19th century stuff. She's like, they're totally different. I was like, okay, Maybe I'll do a vlog. So I'm actually doing like a secret, not secret, backstage.
Not secret anymore.
Not secret anymore. No, I've talked about it because that's going to keep me going.
Okay.
Comparing Money by Émile Zola and The Life of Henri Brulard by Stendhal, and not Dumas. Who's the third? Balzac. I haven't decided on the Balzac read yet, but like a lesser known, so I can sort of take pieces out and compare.
Okay.
But yeah, so big classic French lit and unknown to me. So like that'll be an exciting thing in a couple months.
That is exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually haven't. The only French classic lit I've read was The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo. And that was even like an abridged version that I read back in grade 6.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah. Dumas and Hugo, and there's a third big 19th century one, but there were like 6 that ChatGPT told me actually when I looked at Shannon. I've been converted. Very simple questions. I make it do my search for me. But yeah, I'm focusing on those other 3. So we'll see. So Jocelyn loves the Musketeers. Devin is writing the retelling. Gotcha. Current book is loosely based on Versailles, the series or the setting or the drama that unfolded in the history. I don't know. Versailles is beautiful. One of my favorite places I visited in France. It is beautiful. And innovation that excites. I've never read the book either. With my extreme stress, I never read anymore. Depression and everything, I lost my passion for reading or even writing. Oh, well, what are you innovating about then? Because I'm curious. I don't think I've seen your channel before. So welcome. And I hope there's something else that's innovating and exciting for you.
Yeah.
Ah, Jim says, hated Balzac, love Stendhal, want to read Zola. Is this like FMK in a different
It looks like
interesting format? Yeah. We'll see. The hated Balzac is interesting because so I talked to Brian at Bookish and he was like, his whole channel is about loving Balzac. So he's like, you better find Balzac to be the winner. And I'm like, I don't know. TBD.
Yeah.
Shannon says, I actually wrote an early scene for A Curse of Scales and Feathers that occurred in a room inspired by one in the Palace of Versailles. But that scene didn't make the cut.
That's sad.
Was it like the Palais de Glace? Was it the Hall of Mirrors? Because that's very impressive. Yeah.
Oh, that I would love to see that place.
You could always creatively repurpose that scene, Shannon. Yeah. Collaboration channel with another friend. We discontinued after a while. Yeah. Oh, okay. So she's got a main channel now called Jan Iron Kitty. I like the sound of Iron Kitty. Shannon says, yes, the Hall of Mirrors. It's gorgeous. Yeah. Celebrated for good reason. Devin says, the palace and organization of the knights are loosely based on Versailles. Oh, okay. Very cool. And repurposing is a possibility.
Yay.
And Kafka loved Flaubert. That was the 6th one. Thank you, Jim. He filled in my big names in 19th century French literature. Oh, Janiran Kitty pronounced. Okay, so.
No Iron Kitty.
No Iron Kitty. Different meaning entirely.
Well, now you like that sound so much, maybe you can slip it into a book of yours.
My Room of Mirrors. Yay. Well, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've wrapped up the book, it sounds like, and we're having fun chats. What about what is coming up for your channel or your writing that we should know about and visit?
Well, the audiobook for my first novel, Redeemed from the Ashes, is coming out as an audiobook at the end of this month. It's been getting a few setbacks. It was supposed to come out in May, but then I found out I had a missing chapter file, which is really bad. So I had to get the original cast back after like 7 years. And we just did a one sitting and we all read it together. So thankfully they were so gracious enough to do it again. So that's done. Now I have all the chapters. I'm just like listening to them. I'm listening to them one last time to make sure everything's exactly the way I want it and then put that up. And I'm going to send that to some advanced listening copies. So if anyone's interested in that, you can find that to my link tree. Here, I don't know if I can put that up. Am I able to put something up? I think so.
No, you can put it in private chat though, so then I
Okay,
can
there
copy
you
it.
go. I will send that to you. So that's at my link tree if anyone's interested. That is a like soft romance set during the before, pre, during, and post Halifax explosion of 1917. So that's what that is. There's some suspense in there as well. So that's kind of like the big thrust of June, which I'm really excited for. This is my first audiobook that I'm putting out, so it's exciting. Yeah.
And it's very exciting that you're getting it out in June because June is audiobook
Audiobook
month.
month. I know.
Yeah.
It was so funny. I was like so desperate to get it out soon, right? As soon as I could. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, May, it's coming out in May. And then that happened. I was like, you know what? We'll just keep
Yeah.
it audiobook month. It's perfect.
Do you have an audiobook you're planning on listening to?
Oh, yes. Okay, so I mentioned it in my wrap up this past Friday. I had started listening to Lady Tan's Circle, which
Oh yeah.
you're the one that mentioned the author to me. And I
Nice.
think it's 15th, 16th century China. I started listening to it back in April, and I don't know what happened. I think it went back to the library.
The
Didn't
library
finish
stole it back. Yeah.
That's right. So I'm back on the list. I should be getting it soon. And yeah, I'm going to listen to that. I was enjoying it very much. I don't know how far I got, but I'll finish it this month. What about you?
Sounds good. What I've got coming up is actually, so I normally do Sundays and Wednesdays, and I'm what? Is squeaking it a little because something very important is happening this week. The Maisie Dobbs series, which is Historical Mysteries by Jacqueline Winspear, is
Ooh.
coming to a conclusion. The last book is going to be released on Tuesday. So I'm hosting a read-in, which is
Ooh.
like if you have any Maisie Dobbs books that you want to read, and if you have the new one, you can read that one. I won't have it yet. I'm getting mine on Thursday because
Okay.
I'm going to an event where she's speaking because she's actually
Oh,
coming to Portland.
oh,
Which is
that's
so
exciting.
cool. Yeah.
So you'd have
So
to get the book and you have to get it signed and a picture with her.
yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'll try to get the picture. I know someone who works at the bookstore, so like that should be
Okay.
pretty easy. But yeah, so I get to go and get the book, and it's the final one in the series, so it's kind of bittersweet because there's like 18, I think, and we start with her just after World War I, and she's just establishing herself as a investigator, psychologist and investigator, which is a new thing.
Mm.
And we get to hear flashbacks from the war and like her backstory, as well as like all this interwar stuff. And by the time we're at the last book in the series, it's World War II. She's still in London and like has been through a lot. And so I'm like really curious about what's
Wow.
gonna happen. But
So
I
good.
did the thing where like I don't want to not have any Maisie Dobbs to read, so I have held off reading the last book so I can actually read that on Tuesday. So finally read the last book and be ready for the new last book on Thursday. But yeah, if anyone is interested, that is at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. So
Do
that's my new
you
thing.
read very many books that have like a private female investigator or any type of role like that?
I do read a lot of mysteries,
Yeah.
and several of them have like teams of
Okay.
like male female, and then I'm sure some of the historical mysteries I've read are like just the woman investigating.
Okay.
But this is my favorite series, like even definitely in mysteries and like in the top 5 of all fiction. It's so good. It's so good how she
Okay.
writes.
I have not read it yet, so I gotta that sounds like totally right up my alley, so I gotta read it
Yeah. I'm
now.
sure it would be at your library, and yeah, probably there are copies of different ones at your local used bookstore as well. So
Yeah,
whatever you have to do to get it, I
for
definitely
sure.
recommend.
Okay.
And then, as I said, I will have the actually Friday will be first Friday in June, so we'll have a productivity stream, and then Saturday will be second Saturday, so karaoke for anyone who wants to
Woo!
join.
Yes.
So that is us. Thank you for joining and listening to us chat about a lovely historical fiction novel from 2 historical fiction authors. Check
Yay.
out these authors, check out these authors,
Mhm.
and we'll see you later on in the week. Happy reading, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.